Hey, great people, thank you for joining us. If you are listening to this or watching this, if you're listening to this on podcast or watching this on our YouTube channel, Foundation for Family Affairs, we are so glad to have you here. As Foundation for Family Affairs, our mission is to connect hearts and raise healthy families. And we are glad you're here. Feel free to follow us on podcast, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you know what? Share this with someone, share this with people in your network who you know need this message. Today we have come your way with something really interesting, but before then, I must tell you, I am Chidi Akunna.
And I'm saying Victor Akunna.
As always.
As always.
So this is the continuation of what we started the last time. And the last time we considered where you are regarding relationship, where you are regarding marriage. You know, where are you? And then today, I don't want to share too much, so you need to go see it. You need to see that episode.
The last one.
Yes, yes. We share things that would lead up to this point. But today we'll be considering what exactly are you looking for in marriage? What exactly are you looking for? And this is so fundamental because sometimes we speak to people and we ask them, what kind of marriage do you want? And they start thinking, and some say, I don't know, I just want to be married. But it is important. We'll be telling you why it is important to identify, to create the kind of marriage you want. I'll let you say something.
Some people may be saying, I mean, that's common sense. I know the type of marriage, but do you truly know the type of marriage you want? Because we found out from our experience of coaching, counseling people, sometimes we, especially those who are experiencing intense pain in their relationship, they're just focusing on what I don't want, what I don't want, what I want. But the way life works is that what you focus on the most is what becomes your reality. What you give attention to becomes your present reality. So you have to be able to think, you say, why am I having more of what I don't want? It's because that's what you are giving attention. That's what you are emoting. That's what your emotions are all wrapped up around. That's wrapped up around your emotion. So the key thing that we need to do as individuals, for you to move from point A to point B, you have to have a clear picture of what point B looks like. You have to say, this is the kind of relationship I want. I mean, we have singles who come to us to say, you know what, I'm hanging out with this guy, and I asked her, I said, no, but that this particular one, no. The guy wasn't responding to her, and she was wondering, why is he just ghosting me? And I asked her a simple question, does he? What kind of a marriage do you want? She sat down for the first time to actually decide, okay, I want a marriage like this. This kind of relationship I want. I asked her a simple question. This guy that you are chasing now, does he look like the kind of guy that can create that kind of marriage? He said, no. And I said, so why are you spending time with him? He said, I don't want to be lonely. All right. So it's not just the single people that have this challenge. Sometimes married people don't really have a picture of what kind of a financial future do you want in your relationship? What kind of what kind of a parent do you want to be? You know the type of parent you don't want to be. You probably don't want to parent like your parents did. But have you really sat down to say, no, you know what you don't want, but what do you want? What kind of a parent? Do you want the kind of parent that will be autocratic? Do you want a parent that will be permissive, just allow your children to have anything they want, before they even ask for them? Or do you want to be a parent that will be assertive? What type of parent do you want to be? What kind of a spouse do you want to be to your spouse? What kind of a husband do you want to be? What kind of a wife do you want to be? Because sometimes we don't sit down and we're just thinking, I don't want my husband to be like, but what kind of a wife do you want to be? All right. What kind of a wife do you think your husband needs? Or the type of husband that you want? Or the type of man you want your husband to become? What kind of a wife do you think that kind of a man will need? And are you that type of a man, a woman? So it's very important for us to be able to sit down and pause and really sit down and reflect. Because if you don't live from your imagination, if you don't create a better picture, you're going to live from your memory. If you don't live from your imagination is the future, your positive things that you are thinking. You will live from your memory, which is, oh, the kind of marriage that your parents had, or your caregivers had, or this had, or your sister is having, things that you don't want that to be from your memory. And that you keep on repeating itself. Someone said, if you don't learn from history, we end up repeating history.
That's right.
Let's not focus on history. So why do you think that sometimes um couples don't really sit down and say this is the kind of marriage that they want? Why do you think?
Before I answer that, as you were speaking, what
Yeah.
just kept coming to me is
Yeah.
decisions determine actions.
Mm.
Decisions determine actions.
Mm.
So what I decide to do, decide how I act.
Mm.
So around the subject of marriage,
Mm.
what I decide, the
Mm.
decisions I reach,
Mm.
will decide my actions,
Mm.
how I even relate to the concept of marriage. So I really appreciate what you're saying, because if I make a decision to live from my memory
Mm.
of marriage,
Mm.
then I shouldn't be surprised when I am just living out
Mm.
the actions of the persons I saw back
Absolutely.
then.
Yeah.
That's really fundamental.
Mm.
So why don't some couples sit down to talk about these things?
Mm.
Sometimes they are very uncomfortable topics,
Mm.
especially when they've been married a while and they have had issues. There may be that tendency to think, let's not fully wake up to the realization that in reality we have this problem in our marriage.
Mm.
So we just gloss over it and tell ourselves we are a great couple.
Mm.
So we don't need to talk about this.
Mm.
But you see, when we face the problem head on,
Mm.
we know what the problem is. For instance,
Mm.
they say when there's a problem, one person storms out and the other keeps complaining about it.
Mm.
And it just leads to a very toxic state in the marriage. What that may do is, if we don't address this problem, sit down to say, this is what you do. And this is the problem it's causing in this marriage. And we need to stop this, because what that means is we never get to resolve any problem.
Yeah.
But if we don't, and we kind of just later on when we're cool say, oh, it's us, sorry, and we don't deal with that, then that would be a problem in the marriage.
I like the point you said. So sometimes people don't define a kind of marriage because sometimes they don't want to confront the reality. They want to live in self-denial, and they just let's just be going the way it is. And I think that's a truly great point.
Because sometimes it's uncomfortable
Yes,
to confront
to confront the reality on ground. Sometimes I think that people don't think that things can change. They say, so why think about something that will never work? So you may just sitting there and say, oh, I want a man like this. What about this guy? This guy that I'm saying, he can never change. He's going to be the same guy. So they are in a state of despair. They don't think that money can get better. They only think that money can only get worse. No, anything that can get better can also get worse. Anything that can get worse can get better. So it's about the cup being half full or half empty. It's about our perspective. Some other people are seeing the same problem and are seeing the silver lining. Okay, if I make this adjustment, hopefully he will make this adjustment. I will do my own part. Let's hope he does his own part. If I make that adjustment, hopefully, she will make that adjustment. I'll do my own part. Let's hope she does. That's the same situation, but their perspective to the issue is different. And so that's so important, in terms of how you perceive the situation and how the possibility of it changing. Yeah.
And some people just don't see the need to talk about it. So we just live life like, because when we're talking about this is you being proactive and trying to decide to create the kind of marriage you want. But some people are not that proactive. So they just feel we're married. What's the need talking about these things? So we found ourselves in this marriage, we just carry on. We know we will stay married, whatever happens. But it's not just about staying married, it's about the experience we have in the marriage, the quality of the marriage.
I agree with you. Yeah. Somebody may say, okay, can we substantiate this with our own personal example? How, as a couple, how have we been able to say this is the kind of marriage we want, and how have we been able to actualize that? One key thing, I like to use the example of finance because usually that's easy for people to measure. So for us, when we got married, we didn't have a lot that like something that we had saved up somewhere. We're just a young couple and we're building our lives together. And so one key thing that we did do have was that I remember we had a conversation, after we got married. We were having a series of conversation, but when we got married, we kind of made it more concrete by putting specific figures to it and say, this is the amount of money we like to earn, this is what we like to do, this is how we planned it out. We also planned our career This is what you are going to do. You go for this course, and then from there, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. All right. So everything that where we are right now, we actually sat down and prayed about it, created a plan, created a vision for it. I'm speaking financially now, and then started taking steps. That's why I like what you said. And when you decide, you now begin to take action. Okay, because decision without action is going to lead to frustration. So we started taking practical action that has created many of the experiences that we are presently having. So yours might not be, you might not focus on the finance for now. It might be in the on the intimacy in your relationship. Let's say, I don't enjoy the kind of relationship I have with my partner. We're not enjoying that interaction. Okay, so what kind of thing do you want? You have to sit down and agree with your partner. You can't just run it by yourself because now you are in a partnership. You are in a covenant with somebody. You have to be able to talk with each other and come about that, synchronous vision about what you want. And then you can now begin to pursue it. That way, both of you are in sync. There will be a lot of bumps in there. Like we had a lot of bumps along the way. We ran into debt and a number of things. But if you are together, I'm telling you, there's very little thing that you cannot overcome. Yeah.
Mm.
You know,
So are we saying that people who are not together cannot achieve this?
that means people are not together. Like people are not
Sorry,
married.
who are not in agreement, because you're saying it works. We know it works best
Yeah.
when both parties are involved in this.
Yes. So, well, there are different schools of thought about it. Some people will say one person can save a marriage, I mean, prayerfully. Some person can save a marriage, not by trying to change their spouse, but by praying about it, and then God can change their spouse because people will need to decide to change. Even God can change people unless they decide to change. So that's one way. Another school of thought will say the one person keeps changing because marriage is like a dance. If I keep getting better, you know, if you marry someone who is a normal human being, all right, the person will want to say, this guy is making a change in this area. He used to do XYZ. It's no longer okay. Let me make a move. That's in a normal relationship. Some people are um some people have some traumatic experiences or some emotional challenges that they can't make some kind of changes. They need an intervention for them to actually do the right thing. Some people are narcissistic, for example. So if you are in that kind of relationship, this may not work for you. So the more you are trying to be good to the person, it may not really lead. The person will want to be good, getting an opportunity to more like damage you emotionally or so that's not your own situation. Maybe it's likely different. You may need to get an intervention, and if your life or your emotional health is threatened, you may have to even remove yourself from that environment. So that's a different story. We're saying the normal couple disagreements, that's what we're talking about. So you have to be able to do that to go the next stage.
The
So
two work together unless they agree.
yes.
Yeah.
So it's so just to summarize my point, it's easier when it's two people doing something like this. The Bible will say, one will chase 1,000 and two will put 10,000 to fly. That was geometric progression. All right. It's like a quantum leap when you merge forces with the right people, people who have the right energy. The partner has the right, who wants the same thing. We've seen that work in our own life. So there are different schools of thought on that. Some people, like I said, will believe that one person can pull things off, but it's going to be tougher than when you are on the same page.
All right. So we have shared some tools. Feel free to hit us up with questions. You can leave them in the comment section. We'll be happy to take those questions.
Yeah, I just wanted to add before we wrap up. Like some people will say, each time I want to use my imagination, it doesn't work. I can't even think. The thought of my memory of the past just keep flooding my mind. So what can I do? What tools can I use? You can get a book. You can get a book on marriage, and all right, get a solid book on marriage that will really help you to be able to articulate, paint that picture on your mind, show you what is possible. All right. Books on marriage, very good books on marriage. You can inbox us, we'll recommend some books to you. Alternatively, you can have conversation with people who have solid marriages, the kind of marriage that you want. So look around you, your church, your community, and have conversations with people who have good marriages. And ask them, talk to the guy, talk to the woman, visit them and see how things play out. And that might be the image that you begin to now nurture and now begin to change the characters by putting yourself and your husband and begin to create the kind of marriage that you want. You need to see something that you can create.
That was your experience before marriage, isn't it?
Yes.
Before you started your consultancy.
Yes. I used to visit a lot of places, visit consultants. I worked in one as well. I saw how things were done. I had a lot of people around me who had very solid marriages, young people like myself who were balling or like, I think I want this. So that image was so compelling that I wanted to recreate it for myself. Yeah,
So you
thank goodness.
exposed yourself to what you wanted.
Absolutely.
Feel free to share this with as many people as you think may want them. Leave your comments, leave questions. We'll be happy to take them. Do not fail to subscribe and follow us, and we will see you on the next one. Until then, it's goodbye from us.
All right.